Dear viewers, before you start watching, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is important to us. I still remember my student years when my friend's mother, Aunt Tanya, seduced me. We lived next door, and we often had to cross paths. She was a stunning and bold woman, and even young guys would stare at her sweet figure. Aunt Tanya had a truly impressive figure and loved going to the gym. She had a slim waist and smooth lines that emphasized her femininity. Her hips were particularly expressive. They were round and toned, which gave her confidence. When she moved, one could notice how all her feminine charms shook, in general, a sight to behold. This gave her a special charm that was impossible to overlook. Moreover, Aunt Tanya seemed to deliberately always choose clothes that highlighted her figure, open, light dresses or tracksuits that drew attention to her assets. And then one day my friend Serioja invited me to the dacha for the weekend. We studied together at the university and often spent time alone. But this time, I didn't expect his stunning mom to be with him. When I arrived, they greeted me together. "Well, hello, little Max," she chirped with her sweet voice and went into the house, her figure swaying beautifully under the light dress. In the end, instead of the promised rest, we spent the whole day helping Aunt Tanya in the garden. And a thought crossed my mind. Why did I even come here? In the morning, she showed us what needed to be done, weeding the beds, watering the flowers, and other small tasks. Only one thing pleased me, the sight of my aunt's beautiful legs and those sweet moments when she walked by, swaying her luxurious hips. By evening, when the sun began to set on the horizon, we finally finished all the work in the garden. After a long day spent in the garden, we finally sat down at the table where Aunt Tanya had already prepared delicious shashlik. The meat was delicious, and being next to such a stunning woman was truly delightful. Sergey and I began to enjoy the food, and I couldn't help but notice how Aunt Tanya occasionally cast mysterious glances at me. Her eyes sparkled with a playful glint, adding a special atmosphere to our dinner. Serioja was tired after work and soon started yawning. He quickly ate his portion of shashlik and, rubbing his eyes, said it was time for him to sleep. I walked him to his room, and when I returned to the kitchen, Aunt Tanya was already clearing the table. She smiled at me and offered to pour some wine. "Well, what's the big deal? You're already a big boy, Maxim," she asked with a slight mischievous tone in her voice. I just agreed and felt a surge of excitement inside me from her attention, and I was admiring her gorgeous legs. Suddenly, Aunt Tanya winked at me and said, "You know, I was thinking, maybe we could go to the sauna together. Just to relax." I felt a rush of excitement and even blushed. Such an adult, mature woman is next to me for the first time, and she's even taking me to the bathhouse herself. I couldn't believe my ears. We both knew that this could become something more than just a bathhouse. I nodded in response to her invitation. My heart was pounding with excitement. We headed to the bathhouse under the starry sky. Inside, it was warm and cozy. The steam enveloped us in a soft cloud. I felt a bit awkward, but at the same time excited that we were left alone together. Aunt Tanya was sitting in her white robe just a couple of centimeters away from me. "Maxim, would you mind if Aunt was already quite drunk and looking at me with a smile? If I thank you for your work in the garden in a special way?" "What kind of way?" I was surprised. "So, do you have a girlfriend?" Aunt asked, taking my hand. "Not yet." I was embarrassed and felt the atmosphere intensifying with each passing minute. I understood that this evening would become something special for both of us. "So, today Auntie will teach you everything," she winked and scooted even closer. I didn't even have time to blink. By the time I noticed, the unnecessary robe had been lying on the floor for a long time. At that moment, Aunt Tanya looked so sweet that refusing her offer was simply impossible. "Well, why not, Maximka? You need to gain some experience, and you'll help me out too. You know how tired I am of my husband being constantly on business trips, and I'm a woman too, I want all sorts of things." After those words, I couldn't resist, and my aunt and I dove into what we had long wanted to do. Oh, how we sweated in that bathhouse, doing all sorts of things. Aunt was showing me her skills and talents. She was teaching me back when I was still a young lad, and I didn't mind learning. In general, we worked hard, and helped my aunt, and gained experience myself. Well, Maxim, so young, and everything there is like a horse." Aunt looked at me with satisfaction, holding a bath broom in her hand. After we spent the evening in the bathhouse, full of new experiences and excitement, I realized that this had become our little secret. We exchanged glances full of understanding, and I felt that a special bond had formed between us. It was something more than just friendly time spent together. It was a moment that we both wanted to keep just for ourselves. In the morning, when the sun began to rise above the horizon and illuminate our cozy little corner of the dacha, I woke up with a slight smile on my face. Serioja was already up and preparing breakfast. I tried to act naturally so as not to give away even the slightest hint of what had happened between me and Aunt Tanya. Sergey and I were having breakfast, discussing our plans for the day. I noticed how he sometimes cast puzzled glances at me. Perhaps he sensed something unusual in the atmosphere between Aunt Tanya and me. But I just smiled in response. I can't exactly say what we were doing with his mom yesterday. Aunt Tanya and I exchanged another mysterious glance. It was a promise to keep our secret and enjoy those moments that were just ours. Since then, I've adored mature, experienced women. Friends, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the new interesting stories we release for you every day. Dear viewers, thank you for listening to my story. Hit like and subscribe, because new videos are released daily on this channel.